What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Welcome back to Top Bins, the show bringing you all the action from England and Italy, soccer-wise, of course. I'm your host, Matt, joined by my co-host, Dom. Dom, how are you?
Good, man. Good. I had my first scrimmage as a head field hockey coach today. 1-1 tie. We didn't get to play overtime, but, you know, felt like Jose Mourinho out there. Calm, cool, and collected until we scored a goal, and then I'm running
and then
up
you
and
went
down the
super
sidelines.
defensive.
No, I went the other way, so I guess maybe a little sorry ball, you know, going a little forward, sending everybody going crazy. But, yeah, running up and down the sidelines after a goal scored and stuff, finger in the air, you know.
You got to put on your nicest Gucci or velour suit and do a nice knee slide in front of the opposing coach, I think, to really get the Mourinho bump.
I should do that one day. Show up to coach a game in a suit.
Just get a cheap Goodwill suit and do a nice knee slide.
Walk up and down, Ancelotti eyebrow. You know, just don't say anything the entire game. When I'm
chew gum very aggressively, Don Carlos style. Before we get into the main show, because we got plenty to talk about tonight, just want to remind you that tonight's episode and all episodes of Top Ends, really, if you listen to the show, you know what comes next here. This episode of Top Ends is brought to you by Binho Board. Binho is the next big tabletop game for your man cave / she shed. Think paper football meets foosball, and you've got Binho. Binho Board is a game and lifestyle brand based in Phoenix, Arizona. Their goal is to provide the highest quality boards and a true brand experience. Every part of their boards have been tested time and time again for the best possible playability, so that every flicker's experience is a positive one. Bring the world together with Binho and hear someone's story from the other side of the pitch. Right now, you can go to binhoboard.com and use our code BINHOUSP for 10% off your order, including the newly launched limited edition Ultraviolet board and Team USA and Team Mexico merch. I don't know if you saw this, Dom, but they released a lot of the Adidas World Cup kits. If you saw Mexico's second kit, it's just like beautiful. Certainly, I think one of the better ones that I've seen. You can get Binho Board, Team USA, and Team Mexico merch there. That's code BINHOUSP for 10% off your order at binhoboard.com. That's a reminder, too, that the World Cup is rapidly approaching. It doesn't quite feel that way because we're used to having, like a month and a half before we get there. But, with so many games, so many competitions, yes, Don, I can tell you just saw it because they're incredibly clean.
The away jersey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like it. Adidas, I think, did a fantastic job with the kits from the ones that I saw, at least. Spain's looked really nice.
Germany's is both of them kind of bring back vibes of like older, previous jerseys.
Yeah.
They're very clean and well done.
All of them look great. Speaking of looking great, we're going to start tonight's show in Italy, where we had definitely some big marquee matchups this past weekend. A lot of really interesting games. Teams we expect to be at the top of the table. We start with Juventus 1, Roma 1. Interesting game. I think, really the first big test, I think, for Roma and for Juventus this season, really, because they haven't had the most challenging schedule to start the year. Roma survives this one with a draw. I thought, largely speaking, Juventus probably had the better chances. They have a goal that was ruled out for a handball, and had not happened, 2-0, maybe expected to roll on from there. But Rome kind of just survive the waves of attack that Juventus were sending, especially in the first half. This is a kind of a common theme now, and I think a lot of Juventus fans, especially, sort of griping about this, and I think fairly. That first half, you saw what Juventus can offer going forward. Good counterattacks, a great Vlahovic goal, just an absolutely disgusting bar down. I love when it just takes all momentum out of the ball, too. Like, it hits the ground once and then it's just dead, because it's just perfect, cleanly hit. Yeah, I mean,
the ones that bounce off the bar and go down faster to the ground. Oh my god,
just
nice.
aesthetically very, very pleasing. But, Juventus throughout that first half, I thought looked really good.
Yes.
And then in typical kind of Juventus fashion, really Allegri fashion, the second half, they sort of set out to just frustrate their opponent, drop a little deeper, play more conservative. And I just don't think that suits this team anymore. I don't think that suits the players that you have anymore. When Chiesa eventually returns, like late fall, early winter, that's not a play style that suits him. It doesn't suit Vlahovic. It's not going to suit Angel Di Maria. Like, these are not players that you should really be using in this way. And I just feel like something's got to give here. Interesting too is that the aerial duel rate too. Like Roma has the best aerial duel rate in SerieA, 58.5% win rate. Juventus is in the bottom 5, 46.6%. I found that really fascinating because that's not something typically we would associate with Juventus. Throughout the years, we assume that they're kind of a good defending physical team, know how to win duels like that. But that has been a weakness for them, and Roma were not afraid to exploit it.
When you're playing Danilo at center back,
certainly doesn't help.
Roma's got a lot of tall boys on that squad. Yeah, everything in the first half kind of screamed Juventus, and then the second half it kind of switched around. I don't think that I'm pretty sure the Italians call it catenaccio, right? Score a goal, park bus kind of deal. I think that's a very archaic style of play that may have worked, 14, 15, 16 years ago, but it doesn't fit the way that, modern football is played today. And you're gonna end up conceding way more than you're scoring. Very few teams can win the league or become successful, not allowing a lot of goals and just making do with what you can score. Milan was one of those teams in the past, that allowed 37 goals in a whole season on their way to win the title. But in today's high scoring kind of super attacking style of football that's being played, even in Italy, where, it's been more of a recent trend to play more attacking football. You're seeing a lot of teams do it, even the lower table teams. Juventus looks like a serious team. Both of these teams, Roma and Juventus, were obviously dealing with a few injuries to some key players and whatnot. The Paul Pogba saga is actually going kind of ridiculous right now.
It is Pogbalved into something much more dark and sinister.
You got to trademark that one. But I just can't seem to get away, and I hate myself for saying this, but I can't seem to get away from enjoying the way that Roma plays. I think that Mourinho really has a good system working for the players that he has, and Dybala has made a huge difference already coming into the team within these few game weeks that they've had. I'm really excited to see how they come along, because they could be a serious contender for a top 4 spot.
Yeah, so far, and it's early. We're just a few games into the season, of course, but Roma have the best expected goal difference per 90 in SerieA so far this year. You look at just the chances that they've created. They probably should have been winning, especially those first 2 games, by a more significant margin than they did. And they've been good at limiting opponents as well. I know that, we talked a lot about how Juventus sort of created and looked throughout this game, but weren't tons of high quality opportunities, but they definitely had, plenty of pressure on Roma. I think, they signed Andrea Bellotti. That's a, kind of a good striker they can bring in that brings that clinical edge, because it's really only Tammy Abraham that you would say is a clinical finisher within this team. Even Dybala at his best was never clinical. He's more of a volume guy. Happy to take on maybe some less efficient shots. But yeah, I'm impressed with Roma so far. I think they still have work to do, but this is again, going away to Juventus, getting a 1-1 draw, I think is probably a result that fares you just fine. It's a classic sort of Mourinho result as well, where you don't really give up ground to your opponents. Fabio Moretti has looked pretty bright for Juventus, 19 years old, unexpected kind of starter, through some of these games and minute getter. But I'm looking forward to seeing how he develops. Jose Mourinho said at halftime to the team, "I'm ashamed to be your coach," and clearly that got them going in the right direction. Good for him. And Tammy Abraham, another goal, just big game player. has a habit of scoring important goals for Roma. He's just been fantastic. Love watching him, and getting a lot of credit too, because he's an English player that went abroad and is actually learning the language. So
Yeah, sure.
shout out to Tammy Abram. I know the struggle, brother. Duolingo pals. We could talk it out sometime.
Yeah, couple English players, going over and learning the language. Chris Smalling, Tammy Abraham, Tamori. You got these guys. There's a English kind of revival in the SerieA. There used to be some great English players that did play in SerieA in the past, and it's nice to see them coming abroad and having, I wouldn't say career revivals, but definitely enjoying a lot of the years of their careers in a league when they've kind of been like Premier League outcasts.
I would say Smalling definitely career revival.
Yeah.
I think for Tammy and Tamori is more about like,
as well as a start for them. They're young.
They were like avoiding stagnating as players,
Yes.
and went and got the opportunity. And I think listen, if I'm an agent of a young player, I am pointing them in that direction, saying, listen, this is you. Like Phil Foden, yes, like he's getting good minutes, but like I'd imagine Phil Foden moving 3 years ago to it doesn't even have to be in SerieA, right? But moving to a club where you're going to be playing, you're going to get 40 starts a year.
Yeah,
is just a massive difference for your development. Jadon Sancho did the same thing, right? Where he knew he wasn't likely to get in at Manchester City and moved to Dortmund, where he was going to get good minutes. Haaland did the same thing when he moved from Salzburg to Dortmund. He knew that was a great develop. Like, it's all about getting those minutes. Yes, like the allure. Ask Callum Hudson-Odoi if he wished he had moved on from Chelsea 2 seasons ago. It's
a very good point.
You have to just pick your spot sometimes, and it's not always easy to choose, of course. But you're even seeing it with Trevoh Chalobah, this window where he wants to leave and Chelsea aren't letting. Like, sometimes you just got to make your own way and make your own choice. And
Chalobah and Tanganga, both of those guys.
Yeah, Tanganga, it seemed like could still move. I haven't gotten much read on what his transfer future quite looks like, but yeah, I think that those are the case studies for getting out while you can, and finding and blazing your own path. Speaking of blazing your own path, Lazio 3, Inter Milan 1. Same result as last year. Lazio famously beating Inter Milan by the same scoreline in this exact fixture on Inzaghi's return.
I love it.
This kicked us off Friday evening. Really good game. Very exciting. Gave us a lot of the things that we loved about Lazio were on display. The things that we love about Inter were on display too. Good chance creation. Denzel Dumfries, I love the guy. If he could somehow figure out how to turn his chances that he gets into like goals at even like a quarter better than he does now, this is a defender who's probably scoring 11 or 12 goals a season, because he just constantly finds himself in these dangerous positions, and just very unlucky. He does kind of exactly what you're supposed to, head the ball down into the ground, and it just turns into a great save. But Lazio, a big performance. We saw it last year from them, and we talked so much about them. And Maurizio Sarri even talked about their consistency in his post-match comments. He said last year we either dominated the match or we struggled, which again, is very similar to I think what a lot of people picked up on, that they were just so inconsistent. He said, I want consistency. Anyone can win a single game. In 3 months, a few. In 6 months, none. Meaning, it's fine if you win just this one game, but you can't depend on, luck. You have to be consistent to actually win month on month. And I like that you're hearing that. I think he was very pleased with how this team, worked through different parts of the game and, found ways. This was definitely the Milinkovic-Savic show as well. Just a fantastic performance by him. I think there's a lot to take away positive from Lazio. I'm not too harsh on Inter for this. I do think it's a little worry that Inzaghi in some of the bigger games doesn't have the best record. But, you don't always have to beat, the second or third best team in Italy to win the title, right? It's not quite like England or Spain in some years where you have to beat your title challengers to win the title. You can still get there. Inter weren't very far off despite not having the best record against some of their other rivals, but a little worried that it's another performance where it didn't quite seem to gel and work out for them.
It's a little concerning that Di Marco and Gagliardini are starting over like Calhanoglu and Gosens. Whether that's the matchups or whatever, is going through Inzaghi's head with that 3-5-2. I really do think that those two players would fit that system more than the two that started for that game. Sarri ball is coming into full effect a little bit with Lazio now. They were a lot more inconsistent last year. And you said it, a few minutes ago, Sarri saying, we'd have to make sure that we build that consistency. We cannot be stagnant and be that same team as last year. Luis Alberto is playing with a chip on his shoulder, which is absolutely incredible. If you didn't see the other angles, his shot looked like it was ridiculous, but that deflection helped it become a really, really nice goal. But I was very, very excited to see Pedro kind of turn the clock back a little bit and give us, vintage Pedro cut in and curl it to the far post.
That was some vintage Pedro right there for sure. Love to see
and
it.
A lot of these chances for Lazio are created just because of Immobile being a pest in the box, constantly getting chances and making the defense worry about him. And it opens up chances for everybody else. It allows Milinkovic-Savic to work more and find those other open teammates. So, Felipe Anderson is having his normal, early season kind of run of form before he probably fades away for a little bit. So Lazio are in a good place. If they can, like you said, build that consistency and gain a few wins, when some of those players start to dip in form a little bit, they'll have a nice, comfortable point total where they're, in a good spot for a few months.
Yeah, it's all about consistency with them and putting in the good performances, kind of just over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing coming out of this game, Romelu Lukaku got injured in training on Sunday. Looks to be missing the next game for Inter, which of course is quite a big one. I don't want to,
The more Inter tears, the better. They were panning to people after this game in the crowd, crying like they lost a World Cup final. Just a week after celebrating like they won a World Cup final. So, it's one or the other with Inter.
Yeah, well, so they won't have him for Cremonese, but he seems certain to miss, Derby del Milan. We got that coming up Saturday. Pretty big one. Who knew, right? Who knew?
Listen. I don't know if you saw the clip. Former FIFA streamer Kurt. I don't know. Do you know Kurt?
Yeah.
Inter fan. He was watching highlights of the Milan game. I was seeing De Ketelare do like his thing, and he watches the one clip. De Ketelare kind of is in like a physical battle, turns onto his left in the middle of the field and plays this just looping ball over and creates that chance for Kalulu, who didn't play Giroud across. And he was looking at the screen and he's just like, I think we have a problem. So, not having Lukaku for one of the biggest games of the year, that's very worrisome for Inter. They already have to play catch up after this week, dropping losing points and not getting any ground on Milan, who got a win. So the emergency bells are not ringing, obviously, for them. Like you said, aside from this game against Milan coming up, they have Cremonese, which you can probably chalk up as a win for them. And then, moving on from there, they'll probably get more momentum. Lukaku will come back. Things will kind of get back to normal. But a little hiccup in the road for Inter early on in the season. They have to make sure that they kind of nip it in the bud and move on from there, because if they keep having these little lapses in form, say goodbye to even second place.
Yeah, well, it's going to get even more difficult, like we'll talk about later in the show, because their Champions League group, it's certainly don't have easy midweek games to look forward to, I wouldn't say. Elsewhere in Italy, all the promoted teams still winless. Lecce did get a draw, at least, but not doing great for the new boys. Although our boy, well, your boy, not my boy for sure, Berlusconi had this to say about Udinese after their 2-1 loss, after their 2-1 win against Monza, I should say. They played with 12 men because of the referee.
Classic Berlusconi. He has no room to talk, first off. He has no room to talk.
The lack of shame.
Milan got sent to Serie B because he was paying off refs. Come on now.
Whoa. He didn't pay them off. He gave them Rolexes. There's a difference.
Oh, excuse me.
They were elaborate gifts.
Not like the referees can go pawn those off real quick and get the money for them, but
Hey, those things belong in a museum, I'd say. That's history right there.
I agree.
Salernitana blown the doors off Samp this past weekend. Davide Nicolai. What a guy. What a guy. So shout out to Salernitana. My pick to go down, sending Salernitana into the relegation zone. It's 3 games in. Let's not get carried away. But Fiorentina and Napoli played to a draw. I kept this in because I circled my Sunday afternoon to watch this game. Like, oh, this is going to be great. Napoli have scored so many goals. And it was just not that entertaining. Not what we had hoped.
I heard that what's his name made bad substitution choices for Napoli.
Spalletti?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say so.
I heard he took Kvara off instead of Lozano, and then
the problem is now Napoli is weirdly deep.
The game, so.
They're weirdly deep in attack. So Simeone came on, Raspadori came on, and it's just hard when you have that many attackers. I think to balance it.
You gotta get them rotated in.
I didn't think Kvaradona was playing that well. I didn't think anyone attacking wise for Napoli were really playing that well, except for Osimhen, who's just is always playing at a really high level. But I didn't think those were terrible substitution choices, and I don't think going to Fiorentina and getting a draw is the worst result.
No, I do think those teams are kind of balanced against each other. So a draw is fine for both parties.
No one really covered themselves in glory, I wouldn't say. Let's move to England, shall we, Dom?
Hey.
Some relief. It's
oh, beautiful, right?
It's like throwing up when you had the spins. It's like, God, I'm glad that's over. Liverpool 9 and Bournemouth 0. We wanted 10. We wanted double digits. We didn't quite get there. We'll settle for 9. That's fine.
This was a statement game for Liverpool. A lot of questions being asked about them. A lot of people kind of counting them out already. I mean, you were down in the dumps last week. That's not saying that you're counting your team out. I know that you stay with your team throughout. But listen, yes, it's Bournemouth. Yes, they're probably going to go down at the end of this season. I don't care. Liverpool, like I said, we're having a lot of questions asked about them. What they needed was to go out just against a lowly team and just beat the absolute shit out of them. I mean, the first 5 goals were just absolutely just great. It was just great to see. Harvey Elliott's goal, just beautiful. Trent's goal, Jesus. And then even
Don, he can't defend though. It's
it doesn't matter when you're scoring.
I know Mitrovic bullied Gabriel, but let's not forget the one time that Trent got muscled by Alexander Mitrovic. Let's not forget that. A guy who has 6 inches and 40 pounds on him. Let's not forget that he won. He didn't win that duel.
Look, Firmino got a little lucky, but nice finish. Nice touch to finish that on that one. Van Dijk getting a goal. This had everything. I had an own goal.
It had everything. Except for a Mo Salah goal or assist. Somehow, 9 goals scored, and I'm only salty because I had him captain in Fantasy Premier League. And if you had told me
Firmino,
if you had told me on Friday afternoon, hey, Liverpool going to win 9-0 tomorrow, I probably would have triple captained Salah because you just have to assume that he's getting 2 or 3. If Liverpool's scoring 9, and he gets nothing. Nothing.
You know what? Shout
insane.
out to whoever decided to triple captain Roberto Firmino on their fantasy team.
Psychos. 2 goals, 3 assists.
Can I ask you this?
You can ask me this.
Does this make what's his name's job a lot harder to get back into the starting line?
Nunes? No.
Yeah.
No. I love Bobby. Firmino will have a place in my heart forever. But this was a performance that we just don't see from him that often. By the way, this is the as far as best Liverpool performances ever from an individual player. The only other 2 players to have 5 goal contributions in a game. Mo Salah against Watford in his breakout season, where, by the way, he broke the Premier League goal scoring record. People don't talk about that enough. 4 goals and assists against Watford, and Luis Suarez 5 goal contributions against his eternal rival Norwich City, his biannual hat trick that he would get against them. So
Good
Bobby
company to be
Firmino
with.
going in the annals of history. He has a habit of popping up like this for like big outputs, usually against like Arsenal. Like he had a tendency to score a lot against them. It, for me, does not really. I will say Firmino is better for link-up play. Like he's a better passer than we have in someone like Nunez or Jota, but just to be frank, it's not the performance. And like a good chunk of his assists were just laying it off, and someone just curled it in like Harvey Elliott did.
Hey.
I think the bigger question here is for Bournemouth and where they go from here, because I think pretty much everyone had them picked to go down. You looked at just the talent of this squad, and there were some concerns. They went on opening day. Not super convincingly, but they beat Aston Villa 2-0. But since then, it has not been pretty, and it has not been comfortable for Bournemouth. 4-0 to City, 3-0 to Arsenal, and now 9-0 to Liverpool.
This is a rough stretch of 3 games.
I mean, it is, and it's frankly doesn't get a whole lot easier. They have Wolves, Nottingham Forest, and Brighton in their next 3. Certainly easier than City, Arsenal, Liverpool, but still a fair challenge. I didn't like Scott Parker's comments afterwards. Seemed really just kind of defeated. I think he's trying to encourage the board to maybe throw some money into the situation, but he was saying that he wouldn't be surprised if this isn't the only time that this happens to Bournemouth this year. And it's like, that's kind of an insane thing for a manager to come out and say after a game like this. So I don't know where they go from here. I didn't have much hope for them to begin with. I'm not going to base like their entire season based off of a really challenging stretch of games that a lot of teams in Europe would struggle with, with City, Arsenal, Liverpool, all back-to-back in the league. But it did just feel like this could be like a really early season kind of backbreaker that's hard to come back from. And Bournemouth, let's not forget, when we did their preview for them when they came up, they struggled with bad runs of form. And we talked about how that could be a real challenge for them in the Premier League where, if you put together like 7-8 games where, you're only maybe winning 1 or 2 of those or none, that's harder to crawl back from than it is in the Championship. And I do worry about that a little bit where they had these hot and cold periods. If you get cold in the Premier League, brother, it's going to be a very long time before you're hot again because it's a very competitive league. All top leagues are, of course. I don't want to make it like only the Premier League is this way, but
no, but it still stands. Like even your mid-table teams can just trounce, relegation sides, and if you're cold, then you have a
Fulham were newly promoted, playing Liverpool off the park in the first 45 minutes. That was a team that was in a Champions League final and was a point away from winning the league last year.
Yeah, exactly. So. You can never take a game late in the Premier League. In SerieA, you can kind of take a couple games late depending on who it is. I mean, hell, this Salernitana beat, a team that hasn't gone down in a very long time. So, it's very concerning for Bournemouth. It's even more concerning when your manager, it sounds like he's in a depression. So
well. He has this to comfort him. His 700-pound cardigans that he wears, his designer cardigans. So good for Scott Parker. He'll always have his looks. He'll always have that amazing jawline. So
BetterHelp.com, free plug. Sponsor the show, please.
No. Problematic. Chelsea 2, Leicester City 1. 10-man Chelsea 2, Leicester City 1. Conor Gallagher, let's have a chat, friend. Ease up. Let's ease up a little bit, young fella.
Man.
2 yellow cards in the first 30 minutes equals a red card.
The Conor Gallagher experiment may be running its time.
Well, Crystal Palace has put in a bid for him, which I would love to see him go back there because he fit so well last season. And I think the major problem again is him being played in this pivot role, which just is not to his strengths. And I don't know why he's also the last man on defense when he's already on a yellow card, because that's typically where you're going to get these professional fouls. Even if you don't mean to run into a player, if you just catch someone, you're pretty much always going to get a yellow for that situation that Gallagher was in for his second. Just felt like maybe a miscommunication there. It seemed like an odd fit in the offseason, and I was really curious to see how he would work, and I don't want to make the statement that he clearly can't ever play there, but I don't know that this is the right situation, the right spot for him, and I would actually really love to see him go back to Crystal Palace because I think that's just where he's going to be more successful at. Leicester City, 1 point from their first 4 games. You're underachiever, by the way, and you've looked very right on that so far. Still have not brought anyone in somehow. You got vision, 99 vision from Dom. Still have not brought anyone in somehow. And that is because of terrible finances. Apparently, they've got some things to work out through. It's definitely gonna be helped by the fact that they're selling Wesley Fofana to Chelsea. This is the Fofana grudge match, as it was. Winner gets Wesley. Second worst goals conceded in the league so far this year with 10. This was an issue for them last season, and the only team worse than them was Bournemouth, who just shipped away 9. So you better hope that. That you're not doing worse than them. But, it was a problem for them last year defensively, right? And part of that was just set pieces and stuff, but also not having guys healthy. Now you've sold Fofana. Schmeichel's not there anymore. You're still starting Amartey at center back, and he just is not really his best role for him. No idea what's happening with Sancho. I think I agreed with you that they could certainly underachieve. I'm starting to worry that this might be a team that's more than just underachieving, might be really in a relegation fight because
going down, yeah.
You look at the quality of this team too. Outside of like Harvey Barnes, James Maddison, Tielemans, there's not like high level quality here. Like Jamie Vardy's not been. He's definitely lost his finishing touch in some ways. He'll still probably end up with double-digit goals in the Premier League just due to volume, but you can clearly he's 35. I mean,
he also doesn't have the top quality around him. You just have like Harvey Barnes and Tielemans that are trying to find him the whole time, so giving him chances. And I wouldn't even be surprised if Tielemans gets sold in the winter transfer window. He was rumored to leave in the summer, and he didn't.
If he doesn't get sold now, he's just leaving for free next year, and he's just going to get a nice signing bonus. Is what it's going to turn into, unfortunately. But I want to say this: Brendan Rodgers, Steven Gerrard used to be, a nice player to manager relationship. Right now they're both peers in a sense. They're both managers. Both of them on the hot seat. Which one is fired first, do you think? Because I think
Brendan
both
Rodgers.
of them are really.
Yeah. Look at you, like you just said, Leicester has how many points out of a total? Out of it,
they have 1 and 4. Aston Villa only has 3 points. They only have 1 win, and have not looked good. It's hard to say. I think Rodgers would sooner walk necessarily than be fired.
Leicester's in last place. Last place.
Yeah.
They have 1 point. Last place.
I think there are extenuating circumstances to them. Aston Villa, Gerrard he got like good signings, and maybe he wants more, but he's also beefing weirdly with like Leon Bailey and Emilio Buendia and not working them into the team, and his tactics aren't quite good enough. Like he's not getting the best out of that squad. I don't know that you could I thought Leicester still created enough in this game to win. If they had just been a little bit more clean, you can put that certainly at Brendan Rodgers' feet, though. And I don't think he's a very good man manager. Someone that had Brendan Rodgers manage his team, I would say, especially if you go back to his famous 3 envelopes clip, like this is a guy that historically has not always had the best relationships with players. Certainly when times get tough, he's a great rising tides type of manager. But I think when you have to navigate some more uncomfortable moments, maybe not the guy. But Brendan Rodgers, Steven Gerrard. Wouldn't be surprised if one of those is our first manager gone.
My chat's saying it's not Brendan Rodgers' fault. It's just he never has the players for his system.
I don't know that that's totally true. I think you can maybe say that Leicester have bought wrong, but when Brendan Rodgers has gotten the decision to make signings, he's made terrible signings. He signed Bertrand, he signed Vestergaard. Those were his pounding the table signings, and they were just terrible wastes of money. Insignificant money too. Not they really didn't. It's not like they got those guys for very cheap. So
and we spoke on the show in the past about how it was at Liverpool as well. Where it was kind of known defensively they were never strong. He's always had that struggle with his teams that they'd never been solid in the back. They were always allowing in a lot of goals, and the only reason that his Liverpool side kind of could mask that a little bit was because they had such an electric attack that they were putting in goals as well, and they had to make sure that they scored more than they allowed. It wasn't like, they were getting tons of clean sheets and things like that. So, it's just followed him since then. Yes, he's at a club that probably won't get him the players he needs, but at the same time, he can't get done anything right now with what he does have.
I would say they've done pretty decent by Rodgers in terms of like the teams that he's had and the squad that he's had and the players that they've bought. You could also blame him for failing to get Champions League qualification 2 seasons in a row when they were in 4th and he was unable to get them over the line. It's not like they had a whole lot more to do either, by the way. It's not like they were, sort of had an outside chance. They were firmly in control of their destiny for 2 seasons where they could have had Champions League football, which is a huge difference maker in revenue.
Sorry, they were being sarcastic about Tuchel instead, saying that he never has to play.
Well,
Tuchel's for his system.
That little vampire, it can't make that claim anymore.
Listen, what he was able to do with 10 men, having Cucurella go so far up the field, basically playing as a winger most of the game before he gets subbed off, but gets an assist. Sterling, really having his breakout day in a Chelsea uniform, getting 2 goals. You could see what it meant to him as well. A lot of emotion in that game. I was really happy to see him.
I think a lot of relief too.
Yeah,
I think a lot of relief to finally just
you're the marquee signing coming in this season. You've got a lot of pressure and expectation from the fan base, and if you don't, and especially a player like Raheem Sterling that gets ripped to shreds by English fans anyway, and it's been shown both on the league stage, on the domestic league stage, and the international stage. He is normally one of the scapegoats that gets blamed for his team or England's, misfortunes or lack of success at times. So, you could definitely see that it was a big relief and it meant a lot to him to get those 2 goals. Yeah.
So good for Sterling. Chelsea, good result. Leicester probably should have won this one, if not for just some wasteful chances by themselves. But that's the game, baby. It is what it is. Crystal Palace 2, Manchester City 4. Manchester City making a habit of going down, making it a little challenging for themselves. It's like
this is how they keep themselves entertained now, man.
You play on semi-pro and you're like, this is a little too easy. Then you bump it up professional. It's like, all right, a little harder. Bump it up again. World class is like, okay. Then you get it to legendary and ultimate. It's like, all right, now we'll concede 1 or 2 goals and work our way from there.
You're playing squad battles against the 63 rated teams on legendary. You're like, okay, I can move up to ultimate.
So City showed off their defensive mistakes yet again. Not egregious in this game, of course, but certainly showed off their ability to score goals. Certainly Erling Haaland with his first and I'm sure not last City hat trick. Controversy, though, not without controversy. I don't know how he doesn't get a red card for kicking Joachim Andersen in the face. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I'm not even trying to put the hater goggles on. You cannot tell me that that's not a red card.
There was a tweet that they put it side to side with who was it? It was a Liverpool player, right? That got a red card for
Sadio Mane hit Ederson in the face as well. Like it was a different type of play. Like Sadio Mane, like that was a red card. Like Mane, like fair enough. But like I anytime it happened to Liverpool last year against Atletico Madrid. I think it was it Griezmann? I think that lifted his boot too high and caught Firmino in the face, something like that. Anyway, anytime your foot gets that high where you're hitting someone in the forehead, it doesn't even matter if they lean down a little bit to play the ball. It's dangerous play. You're putting your opponent at risk for injury. That is the definition of a red card. I'm sorry. It's just ridiculous.
It doesn't matter how tall you are, right? And that your body just moves differently.
And there's no excuse for it.
You got to be cognizant of that and do something else to try to
It's not like Joachim Andersen is Lisandro Martinez, where he's like only so high off the ground. Like it's just I'm sorry, but in the age of VAR,
you gotta sneak that one in, right?
In the age of VAR, there's no way that can be mistaken. And then, the third goal for Crystal Palace also probably should have stood because they claim that he plucked it off Ederson. As a guy who had to watch Loris Karius give a goal to Benzema in a Champions League final, I want to hear none of it because it's ridiculous. Like, I'm sorry, that's a goal. You didn't beat him. But this was interesting. When City been 2 goals down at halftime, do you want to guess how many games they have won being 2 goals down at halftime?
City?
Yes. In their history, in the Premier League era.
12.
12 wins from losing from 2-goal deficits at halftime. That's what you're going with. Final answer.
Is it a lot more than that? Or a lot less?
On 53 such occasions, they have found themselves in that position, right? Before this last weekend. 53 times they've been 2 goals down at halftime. They have lost 51 of them and drawn 2. They had never won being 2 goals down at halftime. And they turned it around. They have turned into the remontada specialists. I think it's because of what Real Madrid... I think Real Madrid broke their brains a little bit. You know, we say this every year that Pep kind of... starts to lose his mind a little bit, especially in the later Champions League stages, and gets a little too crazy. I think Real Madrid, with that comeback against them, he's like, you know what? We're going to have to just, like, persevere and pull 20 comebacks to kind of develop our ability to be able to do that to other teams. And they're just going to constantly test themselves so they never fail in that way again. Look, but they have struggled defensively, and that is a worry. That is a worry.
It helps that they have a guy like Haaland up top. I mean, you know, now that City have their, you know, talisman striker, the successor to Sergio Aguero, you know, they can finally play that type of football again, where you can just kind of just send the ball in and hope that he does, you know, some magic. His second goal was kind of just some ping pong passing, like you know, 2010s Barcelona kind of tiki taka, and they just find him just chilling there. He's in the right spot. He's always positioning himself just in the right spot to at least give himself a chance. And you know, it pays off in the end. He gets himself a hat trick. He can do it with his feet. He can dribble pretty well. He's got the speed, but he can get up in the air too, because he's a tall boy and you know, head the ball into the back of the net. I think that, you know, Haaland's importance to this team and their success, especially with some of the issues that they're dealing with in the back, you know, which is very uncharacteristic of a City side in recent time. But, you know, at least they have, you know, that kind of, Joker kind of card, you know.
He is the ultimate, like, push in case of emergency button in that he can score in so many different ways. You saw it for his 3rd goal as well, just like the strength and close control he had. Yeah. Shouldn't be able to do that at that size. Like, no, we don't talk about it enough. But he's just like athletically just such a different type of player. Like, it's just it's so hard. It just bounces off. The defenders bounce off of him because he's just that strong. But he moves so quick and then just has this tight, close control somehow. It's a problem. I'll just say that. Yeah, it's a major problem. And good luck solving it, I would say, for the next, like, 10 years, wherever he's playing. Speaking of being a problem, Eberechi Eze for Crystal Palace, 3 straight assists for him. He's looked very good, player that I'm really happy to see doing well. He obviously had that Achilles injury, but has worked his way back. Exciting young player amongst many now, surprisingly, at Crystal Palace. Wilfried Zaha not available for this game, and not totally clear why. Some rumors about a link to Chelsea, but we'll see how that develops. But he was a bizarre, because he's obviously started out the season very well. Definitely a bizarre miss in this game that hasn't quite been clarified just yet. But keep your eyes on that. But Crystal Palace, obviously it's a tough loss, but I still like what they've done so far this year. They look a good team. Arsenal, we're going to stay in London here, although this game is in Manchester, but Arsenal remains perfect. Complete the comeback against Fulham.
I love seeing Arsenal like this right now.
I don't.
No, obviously you don't.
I don't, because I saw someone unironically say that Arteta is just as good a manager as Klopp, and I just about deleted Twitter because I think the reply that I had typed out probably wouldn't have just gotten me banned from Twitter. It might have got me put in federal prison because I've never read such a mentally ill tweet in my life.
You stooped down to the.
I didn't reply. But the reply.
I can't say that word. Hold on. I was gonna call you an I word, but I like you stoop down to that level of football Twitter where
No. I didn't take the bait. It wasn't bait though. This was someone genuinely talking about
genuinely
Arteta.
serious. Well,
It wasn't even just like an Arsenal fan. It was like someone who's like just like writes and like someone that I previously had some respect for. I was like, that's insane. I'm sorry.
Because I was gonna say kind of like Manchester United.
Klopp at Arteta's age was taking Mainz to the like top division for their first time. Like no shot. No shot are they comparable.
Like
Klopp is the last person to take down Bayern in Bundesliga. Got them to a Champions League final. Like I will hear none of it. Klopp is Arteta. Listen, and I said this last year when they got in their little spat, which I'm waiting for it to watch on the next whatever it is, All or Nothing Arsenal documentary, because that's going to show the Liverpool game when Arteta was chirping at Klopp. Not only would Klopp absolutely decimate him physically, but he is a better manager, and you cannot convince me otherwise. I'm sorry.
Well,
it's just ridiculous.
That still doesn't, discredit what he's got Arsenal doing right now because they are playing very well.
It absolutely doesn't. But all it does is do a disservice to him because you shouldn't be comparing him to these
100%.
guys because it's unfair to
100%.
him and it's unfair to Jurgen Klopp. It's unfair to Pep to be saying he's just as good as Pep now. Like, it's just insane.
No, not
They've
at all.
won 4 games. Half of them against relegation teams. What are we doing?
This
Let's
is the
just
funny
relax.
thing. I can't wait for their drop in form, and I'm gonna turn on Arsenal fan TV the instant that happens because it's going to be scenes. No, but it's good to see them playing the way they are. Gabriel kind of making up for his egregious mistake. That was very on brand for Arsenal there, but no, they keep the momentum going. Odegaard's been a big help with that. He's been a big playmaker.
Odegaard has looked very good. Arsenal have looked very good. I don't want to make it seem like I'm an Arsenal hater. It's just, why do we have to build? We don't have to build these people up so that we can tear them down in a month.
That's Arsenal's MO. That's the Arsenal fan MO.
Right, but let's let them get back into Europa League. Let's let them, play on Thursday nights and go through the rotation. Let's see the squad really tested because they haven't been quite just yet. I think you could say the hardest opponent they've played this year was Crystal Palace so far. They haven't really played like a top up, and I'm not saying that to say that this is like false hope, anything like that. Let's just relax. 4 games into the season, let's just calm down. This time last year, Tottenham were top of the league too. It didn't turn out that way for them. 2 months later, their manager was fired. Let's calm down. West Ham got on the board for the first time this season. Scoring wise, they scored their first goal, and they also got their first win against Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa. Shout out to them. Yikes is all I can say for Aston Villa. Not looking good there. And they also signed Lucas Paquetá, which is insert that drill tweet where they're spending $2,000 on shiny attacking midfielders, but the rest of my family is dying. Someone with the economy help me, because they just love this type of player. They already had Pablo Fornals. They already have all these other guys. I don't get it.
Listen, Milan gets a cut of that transfer money. So, listen, great.
This brother's
great
starving. This brother's starving.
Look, now I'm happy. I always had a soft spot in my heart for Lucas Paquetá because while he was at Milan, he was played out of position. All the fans kind of turned on him real early, and he was talented. And I thought that he was going to be the second coming of Kaká. Didn't work out. Moved on to Lyon, but really had a great resurgence in his career there, and he really deserves his move to the Premier League. It's good for him. I'm going to be keeping an eye on him in the Premier League and hope that he continues to wow spectators because the man is real talented. He's been putting on for a little bit.
Yeah, I am looking forward to seeing him play, but we'll see how that goes on for West Ham. We did have the Champions League draw, Tom. We were close to yet a rematch. Liverpool in the same Milan group again. That would have been nice. We at least had the shot at it, but we'll just go through the groups really quickly. Group A, Ajax, Liverpool, Napoli, Rangers. Group B, Porto, Atletico Madrid, Bayer Leverkusen, Club Brugge. Group C, the group of death for sure. Bayern, Barcelona, Inter Milan, Victoria Plzen. Group D, Frankfurt, Tottenham, Sporting Club de Portugal, Marseille. Group E, Milan, with Chelsea, Salzburg, and Dynamo Zagreb. Pretty nice group, I would say. Group F, Real Madrid, RB Leipzig, Shakhtar Donetsk, Celtic. Group G, Manchester City, with Sevilla and Dortmund, like they are every year, and FC Copenhagen. And Group H, Paris Saint-Germain, Juventus, Benfica, and Haifa. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's Maccabi Haifa. Please forgive me. Definitely the toughest group here is Group C. Like we mentioned, Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Inter Milan, Victor Plzen. Tough group for Inter. It's so funny because we mentioned it before the draw that they've just gotten so unlucky with their groups that some of their failures in Europe over the last few years have just been being in a really, really challenging group. And you, of course, get the Lewandowski return to Bayern. Of course, very lazy writing here by the showrunners, I would say. And from my perspective, not looking forward to having played Napoli again. Just has not been an enjoyable experience. Pretty much every other time, it's always just been a mess. Although no Carlo Ancelotti in charge of Napoli this time, so maybe a little less painful. But
you get a few returns for some newly transferred players in some of these groups, like Nunez when Liverpool go to Ajax.
Nunez was at Benfica.
Or sorry, yeah, he was at Benfica. I've got him mixed up with somebody else. You've got Tomori when Milan go back to Chelsea. That's going to be a big one to
Giroud as well.
Yeah, Giroud as well.
Maybe Rafa Leao.
Hey! Watch yourself now.
Winner gets Rafa.
No. Not after this week. The link up between him and De Ketelare. So things are on the come up. All right, he's going to re-sign. Clip it.
Group D, pretty easy group, at least favorable group, I should say, for Tottenham. They get Frankfurt, Sporting Club de Portugal, and Marseille. Frankfurt, obviously you get to pot one by way of being Europa League winners. I've seen some people, because of this, say that they shouldn't get that spot. I can't disagree more. If you win the Europa League, you should absolutely not just get into the Champions League. You should go in as a pot one team. I think you should have that reward. It's not an easy competition to win. I think it adds some prestige. Absolutely, keep it there. But, Antonio Conte, we know we really don't need to go into his European mishaps over the years, but this is a group that I think if Spurs don't get out of, there's really no excuse. They are definitely the best team in this group. They should be progressing absolutely, and there's really no excuse this year. Some intrigue in Group B: Porto, Atletico Madrid, Leverkusen, Club Brugge. I think, again, Porto, Atletico Madrid in the same group, just like last year again, but some interesting characters in there. I could see that going a few ways. For your perspective, I think Milan and Chelsea should absolutely be going through there. I think, yes. Milan, we said we're maybe a more group-dependent type of team. They had to get a little bit of a favorable draw. I think Chelsea, for a pot 2 team, is somewhere in the middle, right? They're a good team, but certainly you can navigate through that situation. In Salzburg, Dynamo Zagreb, teams I think Milan should be beating, should be better than. So a good draw there, I would say, in terms of their hopes of progressing. Real Madrid get the reigning champions bump. Leipzig is a challenge for sure, but Shakhtar and Celtic, come on. Shakhtar must get sick, too, of playing either City or Madrid. It is every year Shakhtar, or somehow they end up with either City or Madrid in their group. And I have to think the same for Dortmund and City as well. They're probably tired of seeing each other. Sevilla and Dortmund have been in groups a few times over the years. PSG, Juventus, Benfica, Maccabi Haifa, I'm sorry. It is going to be interesting. I think Benfica have a better chance people are going to give them in this group. I'll say that much, because Juventus, we saw them get a little dusted last year in the Champions League by Villarreal. We saw them in the groups not even perform that well. I don't know. A little worried there.
There's apparently some witchcraft going on.
Are we going to talk about this?
Do you want to?
Okay, so
this is a crazy situation.
So story broke over the last few days about Paul Pogba's brother, Matthias Pogba. Is that his? Who was apparently extorting Paul Pogba to the tune of millions of dollars, and so much so that they were showing up to Juventus training facilities. Apparently, they were armed in some circumstances, threatening Pogba. Members of that group were some of Pogba's friends, saying that he didn't support them financially enough. There's some sort of claim that Pogba put or paid someone to put a curse or something. It put a witchcraft spell on Kylian Mbappe. It's a bizarre saga.
Wild.
Which is wild and sad, when you consider just like how often this must happen to players too, where like you have to worry about your family turning on you. As Kanye West once eloquently said, I had to pay a cousin $250,000 to get a laptop I was fucking bitches on. It'd really be your own family sometimes. Like, and that's the sad and scary part of this too, where like there's this criminal element now to this story that I think is pretty bizarre.
It only makes you think like what was potentially happening while he was in England, and does that have any play into his form in the last year or two at Manchester United? Maybe that's why he wanted to leave. Maybe there was more pressure being put on him in England as opposed to Italy, but it's apparently followed him. It's crazy, especially, with him being injured as well. And all the other stuff that's going on now, Juventus and PSG are in the same group. It's really crazy. I mean, for God's sakes, his brother put a video on Twitter calling him out for stuff. Like apparently his brother works with some criminal organization. Like it's so odd.
It's just sad and scary, I would say. And Osimhen, I think, has a similar situation where he has like family trying to run him for money and extort him in ways. It just sucks. I think we have to remember that too, that like not all of these players have always like the easiest and best support systems around them. Money does change people, especially people around you. And it's just tough. So always keep that in mind, I would say. We got some good games coming up this week. We already talked a little bit about the Milan derby at the weekend, in SerieA, but we've got Sassuolo against Milan tomorrow, or today if you're listening to this on Tuesday. Looking forward to that. But yeah, Milan-Inter at the weekend. That's a big one. Really, all of Saturday is just like cracking day of games in Italy. You got Fiorentina-Juventus early in the morning for us. Milan against Inter, Lazio-Napoli in the afternoon. So clear aside that Saturday is what I would say, because that's going to be a great game. All of those are great games to watch. In England, not huge like marquee matchups this week. You got West Ham against Spurs on Wednesday. That should be a good one. Nice little London derby, of course. Yeah, Leicester United on Thursday. We do have the Liverpool derby Saturday, Everton versus Liverpool. That's always a nice one. Chelsea against West Ham, and then Manchester United, Arsenal on Sunday. Arsenal's kind of biggest test of the season so far in terms of stature and quality of opponent, perhaps. So some good games to look forward to. That Saturday in SerieA is going to be a good one.
There's also some midweek games this week for SerieA as well. Like Milan plays Sassuolo on Tuesday.
I had mentioned that. You ain't listen to me.
No, sorry. I was looking up the games while you were saying that. Excuse me. Yeah, the two.
You see what I deal with. You see what I deal with, listener. He doesn't listen.
Look. These are, except for Fiorentina, Juventus, it all does seem like some warm ups for the weekend. So,
we call them appetizers. Something to hold you over through the week. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair.
Hey, I apologize.
Hey man.
Sometimes I can be a crappy.
All's forgiven.
Crappy co-host,
Yeah, but you're a great friend, so it all balances out.
Hey, 1 full year.
1 full year. It's our 1 year anniversary. Did you get me anything nice?
Which anniversary? First anniversary. What is that?
I should know because my first wedding anniversary is coming up. So maybe I should get on this.
So the card anniversary. Did I just get you a card?
No. A card is expected in my relationship for all events. There must be a card for everything.
Take you out to dinner.
The dinnerversary. The paper anniversary.
Yeah, so a card.
Hey, maybe you're right.
I'll make you a paper mache bust of Luis Diaz.
Open your door right now. Your gift is right there.
That was sick. Cool.
A total David Blaine moment. I saw the funniest clip.
Is it a media board?
I saw the funniest clip on Twitter. It was David Blaine in Harrison Ford's house doing like a card trick, where he ended up putting a card in like an apple, and he had Harrison Ford cut open the apple, and his card that he was just thinking of was in that apple. And Harrison Ford, I've never seen him so scared, looks at David Blaine and goes, "Get the fuck out of my house."
Remember David Blaine?
Cheez-Its! Cheez-Its, David Blaine! Sometimes we just whittle it down to only people that were chronically on YouTube from like 2006, 2009 understand our references. And that's what I love about us. You know,
there's always one classic YouTube reference, like in the last few episodes.
Now, check back next week for our muffins riff.
Charlie the Unicorn.
Dom, anything to say before we get out of here?
They took my kidney. No.
Oh, they took my freaking kidney.
No. I apologize.
That was a quick turnaround.
Anybody who does follow the stream, well, if you don't follow me on twitch.tv/SerieA, but if you do follow me, I apologize for the inconsistency in the streams. I've been super busy leading up until the school year. School starts back up next week for me. So I've been pretty busy. I'm going to try to get back into the grind a little bit. FIFA's winding down, but I just downloaded eFootball 2023 just for fun. So may play that leading up until FIFA 23. And then it's the full PC grind. So that'll be by the end of the month. Make sure that you follow the Twitch and follow me on Twitter at Washed Lifestyle.
Oh, you're done. Okay. That's the part of the show where I dissociate for a little bit. We'll be back next week, chatting up all about the weekends. And by the way, Champions League starts next week, so get yourself straightened out. Get your Tuesdays, Wednesdays, afternoons. Get it all worked out now. Understand? Have a plan. It's like climate disaster response, or like a hurricane's coming. Like, know your evacuation route. Know who to call. Know where to meet up. Know what you're doing. Figure it out ahead of time, because it's coming. It's here already. Who can believe it? No that dumb international break after we just get a taste of domestic games in September that rips us away. None of that this year. Just a little thing called the World Cup in 3 months. Who knew? Mm-hmm. But we'll be back next week chatting all about that. Till then, we will talk to you then.